Hello and welcome to the program, The Talk with Tariro. On the program today, we want to look at the issue of positive parenting. When we are looking at the advent of HIV and AIDS, when it came into our country in the late 1980s, it left a significant of children orphaned. And it also led to a breakdown of families, resulting in child-headed families, elderly-headed families, as well as integrated families emerging as a result, because we lost quite a significant portion of the generation. And parental responsibility as a result was passed to many. And this did not come with the necessary preparation. Imagine your sister dies, the child is passed on to you. Sometimes you actually do not even have a child, or sometimes you become a parent when in fact you are a child. So this episode will explore this issue of positive parenting, as it is important in the era where we have HIV and AIDS, and how it's impacting children in terms of them being children, and as a result also becoming parents in the process when they have been orphaned. To help us discuss that issue on the program, we have Tracy Chafuka. Tracy, welcome to the talk. Ndoda kunzwisisa Tracy, iwewe uchibva mucommunity, mukushanda mukurarama kwaunenge uchiita nekushanda navo, kunyanya takatarisa kugadzirisa nekurarama neutachana hweHIV, ungati dambudziko remisha iri kutungamirirwa nevana, iya inonzi pachirungu child-aided households, zvakamira sei munharaunda menyu?
Tariro, child-aided families idambudziko kunyanya kana takazvitarisa munharaunda dzatinogara. Vana vanotungamirira vamwe vana vakaremerwa, vanoremerwa uye vanoremedzwa, nokuti vari kusenga basa risiri ravo. Asi zvisinei nekuti ndizvo zviripo, zvaakutongodawo isusu kuti tinge tichionawo, tivewo maziso nazvino tagara tiriko, asi kune vasina mwoyo yacho yekuti nokuti kuna munhu
kuti isusu tinge tichiona tive maziso. Vana isusu ndivanani ava?
Tisu vaberekiwo kana vaberekiwo kana kuti vatungamiriri vari munharaunda, yekuti pafamba mwana, pagara mwana, mararamiro avari kuita, vari kuraramawo sei, kunyange dai vachichengetana vega, vari kurarama zvakanaka here. Ndo zvananda kuedza kutsanangura.
Kana takatarisa izvi zvokuti titi vana, mumwe mwana akuchengeta mumwe mwana, ende pazviri hazvina zera. Pane vamwana wokuti unoona mwana ari grade 1 akutochengeta kamunin'ina kake, ndiye akuita baba, ndiye akuita. Muri kuzviona zviri kubata sei vana psychologically mukugara kwavo?
Izvozvo zviri kushungurudza vana zvizhinji. Ndosaka ndati zvaakutodawo isusu, angave mapasta, vangave vatungamiriri vedu, makanselas, kana vamwewo vanokwanisa kutungamira, kana ini next door, kana ndine mwoyo wacho, vana vakasiwa vari pamba pavo pekugara vanapo, ndochidongorerawo ndichitarisa. Kana ndine zvikwanisiro, kana ndine mapemhero, kana matsvakiro andinokwanisa kuita kuti vana vagone kukurawo zvakanaka. Asi idambudziko uye zvinorwadza kuti mwana ange ari mwana zvekare ave mubereki.
Ndoda zvakare kutarisa inini vabereki vekuti vanopiwa, totarisa even kana vanhu vakuru, mwana anogona kusara achinzi akuchengetwa nambuya. Muchitarisa mukuona kwamuri kuita munharaunda, vana ivavo mungati vakachengetedzeka zvakanaka here?
Vana ivava zviri pairi. Kune vamwe wokutiwo vanhu vavakasirwa vane mwoyo wacho, vane vana pamwoyo. Kwozoti vamwe havana hanya, vanongosiya vana. Hazvinei nekuti vamwe ari kubuda ari kunotsvaga, haatasi kuti mwana wandasiya ndamusiya ainani, kukadoka achazenge ainani, havanei nazvo, havana mwoyo yacho. Saka zviri tingaende pakati nepakati kuti vamwe vacho vakachengetedzeka, vamwe vacho havana kuchengetedzeka zvakanaka.
Totarisa isusu zvakare, kazhinji kacho kunongedzera vanhu kuri nyore, ngoti auya ari kumubata zvakashata nokuti haasi mwana wake. Asi tikatarisawo even pavabereki, vekuti mwana wako chaiwo wakatumbura, kune vamwe vabereki vari kutadza kuchengeta vana vavo zvakanaka. Tingati zvinokonzerwa nei izvozvo?
Izvozvo handingazomboti nokuti mwana ari kutadza kunzwisisa, nokuti kune vamwe vana zvishuwa vari kushungurudza vamwe vabereki, asi zvaakutodawo kuti kana waona kuti wamutadza, nokuti mwana hasi nyange dai ari wako, kuona kuti wamutadza zvaakutodawo kuti utsvagewo samwana kana kutoendawo kana kune social welfare.
Ko vabereki vari kutadza kuchengeta vana? Kune vabereki vokuti unonzwa kunzi ndinomboverenga kana mumanewspaper kunzwa kuti mwana akazotsva kana kuti akazoita sei, mai vanga vamusiya, baba vanga vamusiya, mba vamukira kana kuti vamupa tunodhaka tuya kutongoti mwana ngaarari. Ndiwe nyakutumbura asi uri kutadza kuchengeta mwana wako zvakanaka.
Ikoko kumwe kwacho dzimwe inhubu, nokuti information kana kuti dzidziso education yaamo mucommunity, tingoramba tingomwairwa nehurumende yedu ramba ichimwaira, asi vamwe vacho havatorina. Ndopata kuti isusu dai vakwanisa paakutodawo positive parenting iye yanga ichariwa kuti vagone kuchengetedza vana zvakanaka.
Ndotarisa inini kana takatarisa vana vari kurarama neHIV, pamwe paya patachitaura kuti mwana anogona kunge atofa ndiye, mubereki ashaya, mwana ari kurarama neHIV osara. Kana ukatarisa vana vari kurarama neHIV, ungati munharaunda vanhu vari kuvatsigira zvakakwana here?
Izvo zviri pakati nepakati. Kune vamwewo nokuti zvirimo mumhuri mavo vanogona kuzvigamuchira uye vanokwanisa kuchengeta, asi vamwe vacho havakwanisi nenhau kuti akwanise anozvitora sekunge mwana iye ndiye akatounza HIV iyo, haachazviona sekuti mwana akatoberekwa akadaro kana kuti akasiyiwa nevabereki nekuda kweHIV. Saka vamwe vacho havana kuchengetedzeka, vamwe vane utsinya havisi kugamuchirika.
Kana tichitarisa iyoyi nyaya yepositive parenting, kare pataikura zvainzi mwana wemuvakidzani wangu mwana wangu, and kana wakatarisa mai veapapo ndaamai kwauri. Kana uri kuita musikanzwa unotosiya. Asi ezvino takutarisa kuti vanhu tangu vane undega hwokuti ndoita zvinhu zvangu ndega, hapasisina kuti takutarisa kuti mwana wedu ndewedu tese. Zvingagadziriswa sei izvozvo kuti tizive kuti tinofanirwa kuchengeta vana tese pamwe chete?
Zvakudawo isusu vacho kuti tidzidzisike, uye hurumende yedu irambe ichingoramba ichidzokorora ichiramba ichipa dzidziso, nokuti kune vamwe vari kuyarukawo vanhu vavabereki vamangwana varamba vachipiwa dzidziso yekuti mwana wako mwana wangu, kuti tigone kuchengetedza vana vedu tisati taziva nokuti ndowanhingi.
When we are looking at issues of positive parenting, we are really looking at molding our children and preparing them to handle life's pressures. How best can we achieve positive parenting? We continue with the discussion after the break. Welcome back. We continue with our program, where on the show we are looking at the issue of positive parenting. And joining us now is Tinashe Zimondi. He is not new on the program. Tinashe, welcome to the talk.
Thank you very much, Tariro, for another opportunity.
Tracy, try to share with us in terms of what's prevailing at community level when we are looking at challenges that young people are facing when they have lost their parents, leading us now to want to explore more the issue of positive parenting. And what we would want is for you to unpack for our viewers. When we are talking about positive parenting, what exactly are we talking about?
All right, thank you very much for that very good question, Tari. When we're talking about positive parenting, we are talking about deliberate steps to become a very good parent. You know, more often than not, parents assume that by virtue of becoming a father or a mother, the moment you give birth, you automatically become a good parent. But unfortunately, that is not the case. There is still need for us to invest in deliberately trying to be good parents, because believe it or not, we're living in a very fast world where we are competing with the internet. It's also trying to be a parent to the children. We are competing with entertainers through the music that these children are listening to, the movies that they're watching. So they already have other parents, if I could call them option B, option C kind of parents, who are putting in effort to give them a certain idea of life.
Yeah.
So if you, as a parent, want your child to go in a certain direction or to grow up in a certain manner, you have to take deliberate steps for them to grow up in that manner. If you want to be a very good parent, a supportive parent, you have to deliberately do that. So positive parenting in basically is actually saying, you know what, yes, I biologically became the father or the mother of this child, but I also have to become an emotional father who's there to support my child emotionally, and a mother who's there to support my child emotionally, and also even a guardian, even if it's not your biological child. You also have to take deliberate steps to say, you know what, I'm going to do A, B, C, D. Actually come up with a plan, you know, to say, this is how I'm going to be a parent, or this is how I'm going to be a guardian. So that is what we refer to as positive parenting.
Parenting, when you're looking at it, often people say it's inborn. It's not something that you are actually taught. But from what you are saying, when you're speaking about this deliberate effort that you need to make,
Yes.
because already my child is exposed to Google. My child is exposed to even friends, pop culture, you know, all these. And you're speaking about that deliberate effort.
Yes.
How would you differentiate parenting and positive parenting?
All right. I would say that parenting is just waking up one day and you discover that you're pregnant, right? And 9 months down the line, you give birth to a bouncing baby boy or a beautiful baby girl. And from there, you assume the role of responsibility in that child's life until the time they're 18 years old. But prior to that, or even during that process, you never really said, you know what, I want my child to grow up as a kind person. So because of that, when they are young, I'm going to give them something so that they give to other children who are probably underprivileged. So because you're just saying, you know what, I will live life as it comes. I will just be there and be responsible. Muswa ndinichamendera kuchipatara. Muswa anotangaenda kuchikoro ndinichamubhadharira school fees. But what are the kind of characteristics that you want your child to have even as an adult or even as a child? And if you then have those desired characteristics, what are you doing to make sure they come out of the child? So basically parenting is just trying to, you know, so long life, trying to just say kuti chero zvazvaita, chero mwana akura, chero mwana adya awana pekurara. But the kind of person that child has to become, the kind of troubles or mistakes that you want to avoid the child to make. For example, we always talk about early sexual debut. You have to be deliberate and say, I'm going to talk to my child about this so that you avoid such mistakes and such troubles. So basically, positive parenting, I would say the big difference is it's deliberate. You actually have a plan to it. Kudhara tiri kuchikoro tainyora kuti musi wakati ndoverenga history, musi wakati. So you have that plan to say, I will do this with my child. I'll take my child to this kind of class. I'll take my child to this kind of family.
Is that
maybe
possible,
to learn.
though?
It's very
Is that
possible.
possible?
It's very possible. Why I'm saying it's very possible, we have rolled out programs of positive parenting. Here's Mashambanzo.
Yes.
And it's not something that is fancy. It does not need you to have the resources. You know, we carry out these programs in areas like Hopley.
Yes.
We've trained what we call positive parenting champions. So these then go into the community and train other parents. So they're basic things like communicating with your child. Kuchikoro kwanga kuri sei. Wadya lunch box yako zvakanaka here. Hausi kubhulwa here kuchikoro. Those basic things that we normally don't do because we think everything is okay. Those are the things that we're saying, just do them deliberately. And that is what positive parenting is about. Yes.
Tinashe is challenging us and really saying, as parents, because sometimes we just look at it as something that's inborn. Yes, I'm a parent. This is my child. Whatever I'm telling them to do, they will do that. But he is saying, as a parent, for you to impact positively on your child, there must be a deliberate effort that has to accompany your parenting skills. So would I be correct, Tinashe, to say there is negative parenting?
There is. There is. I think it's the direct opposite of positive parenting. Just expecting everything to be on autopilot, you know, as a parent to say, just because I'm there, then everything is okay. So that can be viewed as negative parenting, because parenting right now has become so complex. You know, whenever kukuram environment, we always get shocked. Like when we do my trainings, a positive parenting in our communities, I always make sure before I start, I play some of the music that this young generation is listening to. And I give a description of some of the role models that these young people have. So from there, I'll be trying to just push the parents to say, you know what, imimi munoenda kubasa, you know, from 8 in the morning, you get home at 6, you probably have just 2 hours with your child, and then they go to sleep. So basically, maybe you have a day, in a week, you can have up to 14 hours with your child. But the internet is always there. The friends are always there. And this music, these entertainers, they're always there. So those 2 hours or the little time you have with your child, then you have to use it positively. And because sometimes we don't even realize it, but you know what, I'm only having 2 hours a day with my child. We never take a deliberate step to say, you know what, this Saturday I'm dedicating time to spend with my children. So because if you're going to be practicing positive parenting, you make a deliberate effort to say, I'm going to spend time with my children, just to play with them, talk to them, and find out how is their life going. Yes.
Definitely you can't be an autopilot parent. That's the key message that we are getting. Join us after the break. Welcome back. We continue with our discussion on the issue of positive parenting. So when we're looking at the effects of HIV, Tinash,
Yes.
why do we need positive parenting programs?
Thank you very much, Tari. HIV, like we always say, it left a lot of children orphaned and vulnerable. And that gave a responsibility to other people, who have probably never thought they'll end up parenting children that are not their own. And because of that, we now have what we call guardians, who are not only, the biological parents to the children, but they're the ones who have assumed the responsibility of a parent in the children's lives. So what we then need to do is to support them, to say, you know what, yes, this is now your responsibility. And you probably maybe didn't know that there's need for you to support this child in way A, in way B. And now you have this situation. So we have to train them on how to do that. We have to support them so that they do that effectively and they take care of these children. Then we've also had, what we call family integration, where you now have extra responsibility. You probably have your children already. And because of the HIV pandemic, you then have an extra responsibility of also taking care of other children. So because of that, you also need support on how to manage parenting in such a scenario, because there are a lot of challenges that rise up from such scenarios, from the research that we've been carrying out in the community. And we also need to support those elders vana vakawanda vakasiwa in the care of anagogo and anagogo ivavo, because of the generational gap. They might not be able to really do that positive kind of parenting kune vana. So they also need that support. Then unfortunately we have this issue of child-headed families. Child-headed families are on the rise. They were on the rise even when a lot of people succumbed to the HIV virus. But also now we have figured that a lot of children are left caring for other children. For example, we have a care unit here at Mashamanzo Care Trust. When the guardians are bedridden because of HIV, they come into our facility, but more often than not, the other children, the older children, are left with the responsibility of taking care of their siblings back at home. So we also carry out these programs to support these families, to say, you know what, yes, you're young and you have this responsibility, but this is how you can you can support your siblings. And we also make sure that, of course, we reduce those scenarios of child-headed families, but where they are existing and these children need support, these positive parenting programs then come very, very much handy.
So if I'm going to then ask you to say, give me maybe a checklist in terms of basics of positive parenting. Someone who's watching and you haven't been able to reach them as mashambanzo or maybe in the community. What would we say? These are the boxes that we need to tick as being the basics.
All right. Thank you very much. The big one I would say is communication. It's the best way to understand the needs of your child. You know, we've had scenarios, for example, where a child is being abused by someone within the house, right? But you as a parent, because you never make a deliberate effort to communicate with your child, by the time it comes out that this is what has been happening, you'll probably be surprised. We've seen videos of maids beating up children, and you come back home after work, everything seems to be okay, until maybe you see some scratches, maybe months after. You're probably with your child for the first time, maybe room gazes after a very long time. That's when you then discover by that time it's probably too late. They're probably emotionally damaged and stuff. So I would say communicating with your child, basic communication. What do you say? Ask the most silly questions. Things like that. Ask those little questions, and the amount of information you can get from those very small questions is immense. Then also, of course, this is referring to but we now have teenagers. Teenagers now, it becomes a tricky situation, because they have that attitude. They're trying to be their own person. They think makasara, so you wouldn't understand my situation. So of course, you can never appreciate those kind of challenges, those kind of dilemmas they go through if you don't communicate with them as a parent. So I think one of the biggest basics of positive parenting is communication. Then I would say another basic is a plan. Like I was saying, that when it comes to actually creating time with your children, it's something that you have to do deliberately. We're living in a very busy world. These days, people have a day job, then they what they call a side hustle, but because of all that investment you put, Saturday maybe there's a family function, Sunday walk to church, you find out that you lose on a lot of time with your children. And you really have to take a deliberate effort to say, you know what, my plan with my children is kuti at least one day a week ndinogara pasi nevana vangu tinoita dinner, even to say kuti zviya zvekuti vana vanodyira kubedroom, unotora plate yake mukitchen onodyira kubedroom, to say hapana anonodyira kubedroom. We sit and we have our dinner as a family. You actually try and create time and squeeze in time with your children, even moments like that. So I would say communicate with the children and make a plan.
Make a plan for them. You have spoken about the interventions that you are doing in the community. How is this happening where you go into the community? I do know it's not possible for you to be reaching the whole of Zimbabwe, but for those communities where you are actually implementing these positive parenting programs, how are you doing that?
All right, so we are trying to make these community-owned activities. So what we have done is we have asked schools to identify very vibrant parents, and we have taken these parents, maybe 3 per school, the schools that we're working with, and trained them through the Department of Social Development in the National Positive Parenting Training Program. So these parents would then go into the community and cascade information to other parents, and then we then have feedback sessions with them and ask how are the parents taking it, what are the improvements that you have seen maybe taking place within the community. So that's basically what we've been trying to do to ensure that they reach the community.
Our take-home message?
Our take-home message is don't just assume that you're a good parent. Make deliberate steps to ensure that you're taking care of your children.
Yes, don't just assume that you are a good parent. We often take this for granted. I picked up the issue of the need for us to communicate with our children. Let's open those lines of communication. Yes, we are living in a fast-paced world, competing priorities, but what Tinashe has emphasized on us is for us to have a plan in terms of the time that we are going to spend with our children. So from us here, from the Talk with Tariro, we are hoping that we are going to be positive parents. What we want to see is positive parenting. We are in the COVID-19 period where we still need to continue reminding ourselves of the need to mask up, wash our hands, and maintain social distancing, all those COVID protocols. Until next week, it's goodbye.